Hey guys, Blue Jays Domain here, and if you're like me growing up a Jays fan, we are a lot more used to not spending money and having to trade our stars away. Only until recently, when Atkins and Shapiro came into the front office, the Jays were perceived as a cheap team. But there was an offseason that changed everything and everyone's view on the organization. It was such a major shift, it actually led to the Jays being considered World Series contenders. Many of you probably know what offseason I'm talking about, but if you don't, then get ready, as we are going to take a ride through the wild offseason that was the 2013 Toronto Blue Jays offseason. But before we take a look back at history, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new here. And like Blue Jays or baseball, I upload Blue Jay videos every Monday, and I'm hoping to hit 350 by opening day. Thanks. Now let's turn back our clocks and head to November 2012, the start of an organization-altering offseason. To set the scene, the Blue Jays have just come off another losing season, this time finishing 73 and 89, which was good for 4th in the AL East. The Blue Jays' playoff drought has now reached 19 seasons and didn't appear to be ending anytime soon, which led to general manager Alex Anthopoulos starting to get more desperate. Now, this version of Anthopoulos had a very different style than the one we see today. This Anthopoulos made big trade moves, giving up our top prospects without really any fear, compared to now where that more or less isn't really the case. His trades are now more strategic. Anyways, the really poor season, again, led to the firing of John Farrell, only 1 year after being hired as the Blue Jays manager. But that's like a whole other story, so let's not get into that. The Jays would replace Farrell with John Gibbons. It was Gibbons' second stint as the Jays manager. Now looking at the team with no real ace establishing themselves in the Blue Jays rotation and a lack of consistent power in the Jays lineup outside of Bautista and Encarnacion, a change was desperately needed. And everything started on November 8th when the Jays would sign Myciera Stewarts to a 3-year deal. The Jays weren't also done shopping there, because on the 16th of November, they would ink Melky Cabrera to a 2-year deal. Also worth noting, the Jays didn't really sign any other major free agent after November, so just throw that into your back of your head here. In between those two signings, the Jays would complete their first blockbuster trade of the season. Notice how we said first. The Blue Jays would acquire starting pitcher Josh Johnson and starting pitcher Mark Buehrle, alongside shortstop Jose Reyes, utility man Emilio Bonifacio, and catcher John Buck. The Jays did actually try to acquire the services of Buehrle the previous offseason, before he chose to sign a 4-year deal with Miami. Now, 1 year later, the Marlins are doing what the Marlins do best: trade the present for the future, which is a future that just never arrives. And it would be the Blue Jays that would reap the benefits. The Jays would send starting pitcher Henderson Alvarez, who was manning the top spot in a weak Jays rotation, pitching prospect Justin Nicoloni, or whatever, outfield prospect Jake Marisnick, infielder Yunel Escobar, infielder Adeiny Hechavarria, catcher Jeff Mathis, and pitching prospect Anthony Desclafani. Johnson was coming off a year that saw him make 31 starts and posted a 3.91 ERA. Buehrle was on the tail end of his career, but he was still putting up some pretty good numbers. In 2012, Buehrle also made 31 starts, and he had an ERA of 3.74. As for Jose Reyes, the other major piece of this trade, he played 160 games the year before, hitting .287 with 40 stolen bases, and looked to be the true leadoff hitter for Toronto, something they desperately needed. The Jays were now boasting a rotation of Ricky Romero, Mark Buehrle, Josh Johnson, Brandon Morrow, and a battle between Kyle Drabek and Drew Hutchison for the 5th spot. Still not the best, but it's better. The Blue Jays weren't done there, though. Despite the league-altering trade, the Jays still didn't have a true ace. While all the real offensive additions were done, for some reason, one more blockbuster pitching move was on the way. The Jays were looking to shore up their rotation while they were waiting for a certain pitching prospect named Marcus Stroman to find his way to the big league club. Anthopoulos would pick up the phone and dial the Mets number this time, landing knuckleballer and Cy Young winner R.A. Dickey in a trade that also saw catcher Josh Thole come along, because apparently he sort of knew how to catch a knuckleball, which I don't totally buy if you actually ever watched him play. The Jays would send catcher Travis d'Arnaud, pitching prospect Noah Syndergaard, recently acquired catcher John Buck, and some other prospect who turned into nothing. R.A. Dickey made 33 starts, posting a 2.73 ERA with the Mets and winning the aforementioned Cy Young in 2012. Now, the Jays have a rotation heading into the 2013 season of R.A. Dickey manning the number 1 spot, Josh Johnson, Mark Buehrle, Ricky Romero, and Drew Hutchison. I dropped Kyle Drabek because it's way easier, plus the dude wasn't very good. As for a lineup for the Toronto Blue Jays, it was showing off as Jose Reyes leading off, Melky Cabrera batting second, Jose Bautista batting third, Edwin Encarnacion batting fourth, Adam Lind batting fifth, JP Aaron Sebia batting sixth, Kobe Rasmus batting 7th, Myciera Stewart's batting 8th, and Emilio Bonifacio rounding it out, batting 9th. Now, at the beginning, I said this led to the Jays being called World Series contenders. And while going into the season, MLB.com predicted the Jays to win the AL East. Bleacher Report had the Jays winning the AL East with a 94-68 record and gave them 7-1 odds to win the World Series. CBS Sports, 4 of their 6 analysts picked the Jays to win the AL East. One of the 2 who didn't was, surprise, surprise, everyone's favorite analyst, Jon Heyman. CBS also gave the Jays 8-1 odds at the World Series, so yeah, that's fun. So with all this hype, you'd think the Jays came through and lived up to their potential, right? Wrong. So very, very wrong. The Jays did what every Toronto sports team does when there's hype surrounding them. Lay a great big turd in the middle of the arena and then proceed to die. The Jays finished with one more win. They finished at 74-88, which was good for dead last in the AL East. They were also the only team in the AL East to not have a 500 or better record that year. Fun. Also, Josh Johnson only made half his starts and then was literally never seen again because why not? Looking back, the Jays were kinda destined to fail. The team was not very well rounded and was more of a team destined for the 80-ish win mark. This offense was still missing a piece or two before they could become the bashers we all knew and loved. And while the regular season results weren't what anyone expected, a couple of those pieces were big contributors of the 2015 Blue Jays team that won their division. Both Mark Burley and R.A. Dickey were a part of the rotation, and Jose Reyes' big contribution was he was traded for Troy Tulowitzki, so good job Jose Reyes. When you look back on the 2013 offseason, do you look back with fondness or disappointment? Obviously, the Jays were hyped up and probably a little overhyped because all they did was make pitching moves and did nothing to address the fact that their lineup was not very good. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think of the 2013 Toronto Blue Jays offseason. Also, be sure to hit the like button and that would be very much appreciated. And if you are new here, be sure to subscribe. Like I mentioned, I'm trying to hit 350 by opening day. That'd be pretty fun. And yeah, thanks. Peace out and goodbye.